Hey everybody, it's premiere season, so I'm going to make a couple of videos just recapping and reviewing a couple of the new episodes I've been watching of a few shows this season. First up is Scream Queens, which had its 2-hour premiere earlier this week. Well, Scream Queens, of course, is brought to us by Ryan Murphy, so we know his work with American Horror Story, we know his work with Glee, kind of know his work with The New Normal that didn't go very long, and obviously Nip Tuck before those shows even aired. Ryan Murphy can be pretty twisted, so the idea of Scream Queens seemed kind of straight up his alley. When I found out that Scream Queens was going to focus on a college and a sorority at the middle of it, of course the very first thing you think of is American Horror Story Coven. Both of those have very similar ideas to them. Then I started seeing some of the promos and some of the early trailers, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get out of Scream Queens. Definitely wasn't going to be American Horror Story. It was going to lean more towards the comedy side, so more like Glee, which, once again, still kind of interested in seeing how that's all going to play together. Still, I was expecting a campy version of American Horror Story. It may have been because I just came from kind of binging Scream on MTV, that when I came to American Horror Story thinking, oh, this is going to be something very similar, it really, they're not in the same ballpark whatsoever. Scream Queens is more of a scary episode of Glee, is the best way I can say it. The writing is still very funny. It was very Ryan Murphy. It's right up his alley. You can tell his hands were all over that script, and he gave a lot of really funny lines. The very opening is hysterical with the girls not wanting to help out their pledge who is bleeding out in the bathtub because Waterfalls is playing and they rather dance, and that's their jam. Like, very funny, very Ryan Murphy of them. As the episode kind of progressed, I kind of started losing interest in the horror aspect of it and the scary aspect of it. It seemed just more of a fun show. I'm not really sure where the point was going. After watching the first 2 hours, so 2 episodes of the show, I am not really invested in any of these characters. People are supposed to die every week. I don't really care if any of them die because they're really caricatures. Everyone's character is very heightened in a sense where they wouldn't act that way in real life, which is fine for the comedy part of the show. It's just for continuing it to go on, killing characters that no one cares about is really like, okay, I guess they're kind of do it for the funniness of it. And if that's the case, then that's what they're going for, then sure, that's great. You do that. I just don't know how long they can do that for. I don't know the longevity of that. With this episode, or the 2 episodes, I didn't really see the heart of the show. The epitome of the show, of what I thought the show was, if you were to wrap it up in one scene, was the murder text message ballet with Ariana Grande and the Red Devil, when she's texting him, please don't kill me, and then the dance, and her going to Twitter to call for help, dies, comes back to life, sends it. It was funny. It was interesting. I laughed, but when you look at a show like Glee, it was clear from the pilot episode that the heart of the show was really Will Schuester's heart. It was about the arts and fighting for the underdog, and giving a voice to people that aren't given voices usually. American Horror Story, all of them just have plots that are pushed forward with whatever craziness is going on. With this one, the craziness is pushing the plot forward, but with no character development, really. So that's kind of where I see it right now. I'm not giving up on the show. I just can't really back it fully right now. A couple things I really did love about the show, though, were the big, grand, sweeping shots that were mirrored back in Coven. Ryan Murphy really knows how to direct these big, sweeping houses. Another thing, Jamie Lee Curtis, amazing. Her character is the most interesting character on the show, which really isn't surprising because Ryan Murphy and his team of writers know how to write older, complex / funny, interesting women. It's the same thing with Sue Sylvester, so like the most interesting character on Glee, Jane Lynch, Jessica Lange in American Horror Story, and now Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't think anyone ever just noticed how much the JLs followed him. Jamie Lee Curtis, just J, okay, but still JL, Jessica Lange JL, Jane Lynch JL. But really, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, hysterical. That's pretty much what keeps me wanting to go to the next episode. What's happening with her? What she cover up? What didn't she cover up? Lea Michele is freaking hysterical in this. We've watched her for so long as Rachel Berry on Fox. So when you sit there and you're watching Fox and you see Lea Michele in front of you, you're like, all right, here goes Rachel Berry, and she's completely different, which kudos, obviously she's an actress, she should know how to do this. But she's playing her creepy neck brace character hysterically. She's probably one of the funniest people in that house, aside from Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts, who's been given this crazy bitch character kind of for the second time, or third time really, if she started back with Scream 4, then went on to Coven, and now this again. But her character in this one, you can really tell the differences. I'm assuming they're hinting at there's deeper things involved with Chanel. Whether we find those out in time, I don't know. But Emma Roberts is doing, she's doing an amazing job. Most of the acting in general, really, there isn't anything to complain about. It's the characters. It's what's written for a lot of them. Overall, I give the episode about a C+. Mostly just because I'm not, like I said, completely behind it yet. I'm not sure where they're going. It's possible I could give this episode a higher rating when I figure out where this season's really going to go. Like I said, I could just been in one mindset when I saw it. I may just need to rewatch it under a different lens. But overall, it was solid. It was very Ryan Murphy, like I've said. There's a lot of interesting shots there. There's a couple interesting characters. A lot of them kind of just there for jokes. Of course, again, Ryan Murphy trying to play up what he thinks sells, so he's using a lot of the male figure. We've been introduced to pretty much 3 male figures minus the father, but 3 young male figures. Each one of them has been highlighted as shirtless, and at one scene was just very, very glorifying Nick Jonas. But that's nothing we haven't already seen in American Horror Story. But overall, it was a solid opening. I like to give seasons 3 episodes usually. I'll probably give this one 4 since this one had a 2-hour season premiere. I feel like they wrote as a 2-hour season premiere. So it wasn't 2 separate episodes. They wanted them to go together that way, which may also hurt it because it kind of felt long. It didn't feel like I was watching 2 episodes. It was a really one long episode that could have been more interesting if it had been broken up into 2. Maybe more plot would have been given. But yeah, that's it. So until next time, guys.